Comenzamos con un nuevo gameplay. En esta ocasión jugaremos Horace, que según yo en español sería como Horacio. Un juego más para la sección de Probando Juegos que han estado gratis en la Epic Store. De este juego, por lo que tengo entendido, nuestro personaje es un robot que es algo como del ambiente, algo así leí. Como que con un mensaje muy ecológico. Aunque eso parece la primera armadura de Iron Man, la que era solamente de oro. Bueno, no, la primera era de solo hierro, pero había una que era como que con puro color dorado, antes de que le pusiera los detalles en rojo. El 1. Hace años que no escuchaba el ruido como para cuando iniciabas internet antes. Como que tiene cara de sufrimiento, ¿no? Digo, supongo de que esto es importante en cuestión de que es el primer modelo y aparte se cayó, o sea, de que va a resultar de que por esos detalles va a tener alma el robot. Bueno, que no va a seguir como que una programación definida de típico robotcito, hago solo lo que me digan, no sé. ¿Y eso qué? Tiene toda la pinta que yo tendría así de... típico que no hace nada. Doy pasitos. Y veo. Y me agacho. Tan 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 tan. Turun, tun, 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 tun. Sí, parece pasito de Michael Jackson. Bueno, de Thriller.
And so, I was born. The first people I remember seeing were the old man, the old lady, and their daughter, Heather. After they'd said hello,
Heather.
The old man powered me down so he could install some software. I could tell they were nice people. The old man didn't give me a silly voice or stupid personality. And the old lady didn't dress me like a clown. Although for some reason, Heather really didn't like me. Once I'd had time to get used to walking, the old man asked me to dash from one end of the room to the other.
Puro correr. Ay, corre como Naruto.
Next, the old man spent a couple of hours building some wooden platforms. He said he wanted me to jump up them, but I must admit, I was scared. It wasn't until I saw Heather and her mother happily climbing up them that I decided it might be okay.
Está curioso el intro. Bueno, intro tutorial. Y casi uno que va a resaltar de que no, el que viejito se murió o algo por el estilo y me van a dejar solo o algo así. Digo, las historias que son así como que el robot que encuentra su humanidad son muy parecidas casi siempre.
The old man then rearranged the platforms. He told me to try to reach the other end of the room without touching the floor. Heather said the floor's made of lava. But when I smiled at her, she just frowned and looked away. The old lady arranged some pillows and blankets. She said it was in case I fell, but I think she just wanted it to look more like lava.
Ahí voy.
When I reached the other side, the old man just smiled and said, "That'll do, for now."
Capítulo 1. Aprendiendo a caminar. Ah. A ver, ¿y los
A
demás
couple of
personajes?
days after those first lessons, the family had a big meal, and I was introduced to everyone else. The professor was the old man's brother. He was very quiet, and always seemed to just kind of stare at me. He had lived with the old man for 5 years. The house was so huge they barely saw each other. He preferred instead to stay in his room, leaving everything up to his butler, Mr. Deck, as he insisted everyone call him, although the professor always called him Anton. For a while, he called me a yellow bastard, but the old man made him stop, as he thought it sounded racist. Mr. Silton was the old man's driver. Before he worked here, he'd gotten in with some bad people and was the driver in a post office robbery, although it all went wrong for some reason. Mr. Silton showed me a video of his band. I'm sure some people must like it, but I just found it terrifying.
Aunque en ese video ya tenía
Then
pinta
there
de
was
viejito
Alice.
y los
She
demás
was
ya se
the
ven como
cook.
que más
She was a
jóvenes.
nice old lady. When she was younger, she had been a TV chef. Then, years later, she had a small part in Coronation Street. Mr. Silton said, before she worked for the old man,
Se supone
Alice
que esa
was
es una
quite a
referencia
hoarder.
a algún
She kept
programa.
old newspapers and bicycles, and something about a poo in a shoebox. The next morning, the old man gathered everyone together to show them what I was capable of. "What else does he do?" asked Mr. Silton. The old man smiled. "He can help around the house." "Could he help me with my newspaper collecting?" asked Alice. "I'm not sure that's a good idea," said the old lady, "but he can do all sorts of jobs." "Yeah," said Mr. Silton, "shove a stick up his ass and he can do Deck's job." Now, said the old man, "we have company," pointing to some important-looking people. 2 large men, both called Gary, set up what the old man referred to as lasers. He said again, I should try to get from one end of the room to the other, but I shouldn't be worried, as I had a special chip which meant no matter how damaged I was, I couldn't die. He said
Okay.
it was like infinite lives in a video game. But when he realized I didn't understand, he said he would explain another time.
Corre, corre, ay, ay. Corre, corre, corre. Listo, ya llegué.
Everybody clapped, except the important-looking men. "Not exactly a cold, calculated killer, is it?" said the man in black. The man in grey laughed. "What kind of artificial intelligence was that?" he asked. "Move right, unless there's something in the way." Okay, said the old man. He turned to me and whispered, "They're going to make it quite a bit tougher, but I'm sure you'll be fine."
Sí, tú, ¿cómo no? Ah, ya vi por qué. Hay más para acá, ¿no? Ay, me... Está... ¿Aquí qué? ¿Para dónde? ¿Me dejó caer? Ah.
The Garys then rearranged the room one last time. The old man smiled. Now, there's no need to look so glum, he said. I'm still happy with everything you've done today. So this time, I was determined to do him proud.
Bueno, ya no hay electricidad aquí. Ah, ya vi dónde. Ah, me llevan, ese no lo vi. No lo vi hasta que había saltado. Ahí está. Ah. Sí, sentí que ese último se me iba. Ahí está.
The old man's friends actually seemed quite happy when I made it through. We might have a winner after all, said the man in black. It's no Killbot 3000, but you can almost see the fire in its eyes.
Y luego el robot. ¡Ah,
fuego! A couple of days later, the old lady said she had a surprise for me. My own room. She also wanted to play me some music. I wasn't sure after what Mr. Silton had shown me. As if music wasn't amazing enough, the old lady then bought me a television set. I couldn't believe what I saw. I watched everything I could. Comedy, drama, horror, sci-fi. Anything anyone wanted to watch I would happily watch with them. Then one day, the old man set up a small box. He plugged some cables into the television and said, "This is what I meant when I said video games." I played games at every chance I could. I took on everyone. I was unstoppable. I had enjoyed music, film, and television. But to me, video games really were the highest art form.
¿Se pareció un Play 4? A pesar de que están jugando Pong, Ping Pong, o como se llamara. Bueno, Table Tennis for Two. Ah, que no es lo mismo. Ah, es básicamente el mismo sistema. Ah, no, gané. Gana. No. Gané. Ah. Ahora sí gané. Digo, de lo que va no es como que haya experimentado de lo que va el juego realmente. Nada más vamos el tutorial y un jueguito al mes. Bueno, una partida de Pong. Ah. No. Voy a perder. Ah, no. Muy bien.
Heather's birthday was a couple of months later. Her mum and dad had bought her a camera and arranged a day up by the sea so that Heather could take some photos, although I really don't think she wanted any pictures of me. When the old man asked the professor if he wanted to go, he frowned and said, "I can't believe you want to spend time with that thing. It could destroy the world." I wasn't sure what he meant, but the old man just smiled and said, "That's what you said about the Game Boy. Anton, how about you?" "I don't think so," said Mr. Deck. "The last time I got in that car, Barry crashed us into a branch of Woolworths. I never would have gone into Woolworths of my own accord." The old man explained that the car was old and the brakes had failed, but Mr. Deck was having none of it. So Mr. Silton drove, and Alice came along for the fresh air.
Uy, la cara de...
I enjoyed being outside. Although, the old lady kept telling me to be careful of the rickety old walkways. It felt like she was telling me off, but I think she was just concerned.
Ah, ya sé dónde voy a sacar el sombrero de la imagen. Entonces sí, básicamente sí, se va a morir y me voy a quedar con sus cosas. Por lo menos con el sombrero.
I wasn't sure what it was, so I asked the old man. He said it was a battleship that had sunk in the 1940s. But he looked so sad when he spoke about war. I didn't see what happened, but the metal platform Heather was climbing on had collapsed. She was safe, even if the rocks she was
on
was very dangerous. The tide was rising, and we didn't know how long the Coast Guard was going to be, so I offered to climb down and get her. The old man agreed, but said I should be careful, as Heather doesn't have infinite lives, like I do.
Corre como Naruto, corre como Naruto. Me voy de paso, me voy de paso.
Heather was unconscious, and her leg was broken, so I picked her up as gently as I could. I decided it would be best if I didn't.
¿Eh? ¿Que le piqué algo?
Run the rest of the way. An ambulance had arrived by the time I had made it back to the cliff top. The medics made sure Heather was okay, and then took her off to hospital. A few days later, we all went to see how she was doing. She was fine, but would have to wear the cast for a couple of months.
Nada más le valía. Porque no se les pudo haber ocurrido un mejor nombre. Herobot. Héroe y robot.
Once Heather got to know me, we became good friends. We enjoyed the same films and TV.
Pues está muy bonito y todo, pero es demasiado de introducción nada más. Bueno, todo el juego es así de nada más ciertas secciones jugables y todo lo demás es la historia.
Soon she knew as much about me as the old man did, if not more. We spent the next couple of months visiting other countries, as when it came to teaching me things, the old man always liked to pick interesting locations. He had explained the basics of mathematics to me at the Great Pyramid of Egypt. Taught me history in the dead of night, surrounded by mysterious giant stones. and even showed me science in action high up in a hot air balloon. This is why I was
La que odiaba
surprised
la
when the
madre.
old man took me to a restaurant. It was nice, but it seemed very somber compared to the previous grand locations. He said he just wanted to chat, and this was nice and quiet. Plus it was his favorite place to eat. We talked about
Esta
life,
tonada me recuerda
the
algo, pero
universe,
no sé qué.
Douglas Adams, everything really.
Suelen usarla mucho para
When I asked him why
juegos,
were
así
we
como que
here,
para momentos
why did we
tristes,
exist,
¿no?
he just smiled and said, life is like a game, just don't expect to be finished anytime soon. When I looked puzzled, he said, well, everyone should have a purpose. So I asked him, what's my purpose? He thought for a bit, then said, so you want to be a real boy? Which just confused me even more. Eventually the old man said, for now, I want you to help clean things around the house. I must have looked unimpressed, as he then said, okay, I want you to clean 1,000,000 things. It didn't sound like the meaning of life, but I suppose you've got to start somewhere.
Ok, ya estoy empezando a creer que sí va a ser como que todo mucha historia, poco
The next
juego
day,
realmente.
the old man said he wanted to install some more software, so he powered me down. When I came to, he said Mr. Silton had a joke for me, and that I should pull his finger. I don't think I got the joke. So the old man powered me down again. This time when I pulled Mr. Silton's finger, I got the joke. But it wasn't very funny. The old man then explained that he had installed a special chip which allowed me to clean away anything that was broken. He said it also tells me how many things are nearby, and how many smaller things are in a bigger thing. It all sounded very complicated, but he said all I really had to do was pause, and it would bring up all the information I needed. He then said he wanted me to find and clean all of the items in the room. He told me there would be some chains to climb, but that would be nice and easy, as I just had to press up. He then finished by saying, when I had collected all the items, I should come back here.
Ok, entonces tal cual todavía sigue el tutorial. Ay, tengo que pasar cuántas veces por las cosas. Ajá. Ahí voy. Y voy. Otro vasillo. Este de aquí. Ya, dame. Aquí está. Me faltaron cosas. Es que te tienes que quedar quieto hasta que desaparezca, entonces. A menos que sean cosas chiquitas. Ay. No, ya, hace esa animación. Ay. ¿Ya fue todo? Creo que sí, anda tú. Listo.
The old man then asked the old lady Heather and I to follow him outside. I was happy too, as it was a lovely hot day. The old man said he was worried that Alice had been hoarding again. She had filled up a small barn with old bicycles and newspapers. Heather said, this would be a perfect chance to properly test my new powers. The old man thought for a second, then said, using the steptoe chip, I should find and clean at least 300 things. When we explained to Alice what we wanted to do, she seemed scared. But after the old lady kindly explained that, well, the barn was starting to smell, she said it would be okay. One last thing, said the old man. If you want to use a door, just push up. When I was about to enter the old barn, Mr. Silton said he had seen some mushrooms growing inside. He asked me to give him any that I found. He then winked, but I wasn't sure why.
Yo sí entendí. Pensé que todavía había piso ahí. Eso sí, buena selección de música. Exactamente cómo procesa un carro y una bicicleta, ¿o qué? Aparte de esta había otra que no sé, ok. ¡A la madre! Ahí está. Ya encontré los champiñones. Es la foto del programa de cocina, ¿no? Agarra, ahí está. Ahí va. Pasito, pasito, porque luego no lo agarro. Me fui. Me llévala. Así, ahí está. Que pude haber subido por este lado, pero bueno. No. La ventaja es de que son vidas infinitas, así de que realmente no es como que me tenga que preocupar porque no puedo brincar. Todo, ya me puedo ir.
The old man was very happy with everything that I had cleaned. But I think Mr. Silton was even more happy with his mushrooms.
¿Qué vamos? ¿Como media hora solo de tutorial? Digo, está largo para hacer solo como que el intro. Bueno, tal cual no se puede tomar como tutorial porque ya es capítulo 2. Pero pues todavía es así como que, prueba las cosas que te vamos a dar.
As we watched the trees blowing in the breeze, the old lady said, "The leaves must fall before the blossom comes." She had already explained the seasons to me, so for once, I actually understood. But it didn't make me feel any better. The old lady obviously had enough of my moping, and said, "Right, next week we're going to have a party." For some reason she insisted that we were all going to wear costumes. Heather was very excited and said, "I've got some perfect ideas."
¿Va a ser Halloween? Digo, tema de Halloween. Y algo pasó con el sistema de Horace y empezó a matar.
It was terrifying. Everyone was dressed like someone else. I think I was meant to be some kind of pumpkin, as everyone kept shouting, "It's the Great Pumpkin." Still, at least Mr. Silton was having fun telling everyone his joke. And I suppose Heather's costume was quite flattering.
Ah, ya está vestido de Charlie Brown y yo.
After what seemed like forever, everybody left, and things got back to normal. Heather was allowed to watch a scary film before she went to bed, but I had to help Alice and Mr. Deck clean up. I wasn't happy about this, but the old man said if I was quick, then I could watch the end of the film with them. Alice was vacuuming, and Mr. Deck was taking down the decorations, so I thought I should clean up the plates and glasses.
Quizás lo tiro. ¿No agarré eso? ¿Era esto?
The ear-splitting sound was the fire alarm. As usual, Mr. Deck blamed Mr. Silton, saying he was probably smoking one of his jazz cigarettes. But then the professor appeared. He said that there was something burning in the kitchen. Alice looked confused, saying that she hadn't cooked anything since the morning. We were all surprised when Mr. Deck opened the oven. Inside was a large black cloak and a slightly burnt pair of men's underwear.
What?
Suddenly the old lady burst in. She looked terrified. She kept shouting, "There's someone on the roof." When we went outside, it slowly became obvious that it was Mr. Silton. He was completely naked and playing his guitar. He shouted down, "When I finish this song, I'm going to fly." The old lady said, "Oh my God, I know this one, there's only about 30 seconds left."
Ya
The
valió.
old man then quickly turned to me and said, "You know what to do."
Dejarlo morir. Ah. ¿Cómo se supone que voy a...? Ah, ya vi cómo. Voy. La de Naruto. No, no me sale. No me salen los movimientos de Naruto. Ay. Ah. Ahí está. Ah, y ahora aquí qué. Ahí voy.
By the time I had made it up to the roof, Mr. Silton was beside the edge. I tried to calm him down, but he was acting even more bizarre than usual.
Y se cayó y se mató. El idiota local.
After an hour or so, Mr. Silton was fine. He said he had eaten some bad magic mushrooms. Part of me wondered why he hadn't doubled in size. Still, he was soon laughing and joking with the paramedics. One of them said he looked like the world's worst clown. I don't think Mr. Silton liked that. So he told his own joke. But that just made the other paramedic call him Marshmallow Marceau. I don't think he liked that either. But at least he was still in one piece.
What?
A month or so later, Heather and I were playing video games, when the old man said he wanted me to come outside. He said it had been a year since I had arrived, so he had a present for me. He placed the teddy bear high up on a wooden platform.
Ay, qué
Then
desgraciado.
told me I should try to pick it up.
No puedo.
Try as I might, I couldn't reach the teddy bear. However, I still don't understand what happened next.
What? Básicamente lo que pasó sí fue eso, como que se volvió loco. Bueno, le dio como que corto al ver que falleció. Pinocho, el robot, no vi que eran los otros. Ay, no me pudieron haber movido. Digo, llegué en carretilla, ¿me puedo haber movido en carretilla? Ya otra vez a meter cosas ahí ¿cómo se llama? Bueno, sí, a guardar todo en un solo lugar, así a la breve. Y en serio, o sea, quién sabe cuánto tiempo pasó y todavía le dejaron ahí el sombrero. Son estos. ¿Y qué onda con los golpes? Y ahí se quedó por años y años, supongo. ¿Qué, en lo que se acomoda todo o qué onda? What? Digo, tal cual, ¿cuánto tiempo pasó? Ok, eso no tiene nada que ver. puedo volar y conducir. Y justo cuando acabe va a despertar.
Was I dead? Was this heaven?
Parece el baño.
It sort of looked like the basement bathroom. It was the shoes the old man was going to give me. I thought I might as well put them on. They were just the right size. The old man's hat fit me pretty good as well. I'm sure he wouldn't mind if I wore it.